Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Hansen,
And I'm Devin Corrigall.
and we're talking today about our SENG 371 project, which is the software evolution class for the University of Victoria. And to start off, we're trying to solve a specific question. And the question is, how does the number of progressive and anti-regressive changes affect the number of bugs reported over time for a software project? And an anti-regressive change is anything that relates to maintenance or a refactor for a software project, and a progressive change is any new features added to the software project. So our hypotheses for this question are the more progressive changes you make, it introduces more bugs, you're adding more features, they'll probably need more testing, so people are going to find more bugs later on. More anti-regressive changes will also lead to less bugs because you're refactoring or performing maintenance on your software project. You want to make it perform better, so that will decrease the number of bugs reported. For our methodology, we are continuing from our last project. We are looking at GitHub repositories, and we are looking at counting the number of bugs, anti-regressive changes, and progressive changes for those repositories. And how we're doing this is we've made scripts to get each number. For bugs, we have a script that calls the GitHub API on a daily basis, and it queries the issues for that repository based on a label or a search term, and the search term we use is generally bug. For progressive changes, we have a separate script that calls the GitHub API, and it looks for pull requests that do not relate to bugs or anti-regressive changes. These are merged pull requests. And then anti-regressive changes, we are using another group's project called Transit. And what this project does is it looks at a GitHub repository and counts the number of line moves in the repository. So we are parsing the output from that project for a repository and counting the number of lines moved for each day. And the code bases we are looking at on GitHub are Ruby on Rails, Node.js, and Bootstrap. We are looking at these ones in particular because they're very large. They have thousands of issues, and they've been well established. They've been around for quite some time. And we are using specific date ranges for each one. Ruby on Rails, April 2011 to February 2015. Node is August 2011 to February 2015. And Bootstrap is June 2009 to February 2015. We're looking at those date ranges because we want to get as much data as we can while the projects were most active. So for our results, we have this really big graph here. It's very hard to see anything though, so we're just going to zoom in and kind of see more of the data here, but it's still kind of hard to see, so we're just going to zoom in a lot more. And now you can see a lot better our data. You can see all of the green spikes for our anti-regressive changes, the number of lines that were moved around for a given day, and all of our bugs and progressive changes. But these graphs are kind of hard to get data from, so what we decided to do was do some statistic analysis using the program R, and Devin's going to tell you all about that.
So once we imported all of our data into R, the first thing we did was calculate correlations between features and bugs and between anti-regressive changes and bugs. We thought we were done then, but once we thought about it a bit more, we realized these correlations were just comparing features and bugs and anti-regressive changes and bugs on each individual day, whereas we wanted to compare them over time. So how does adding a feature affect a bug maybe a week or two or even a month down the road? So instead what we did is did some research and found there are cross-correlation calculations we could do. So the cross-correlation, what it does is it shifts the data by daily increments, or the lag, and calculates a correlation after each shift. After that, we manually graphed the data and created these graphs. So for Rails, with the cross-correlation graph, we can see that a progressive change or a feature results in more bugs during the first 14 days following that feature, but after that, it's not very consistent. It's either slightly increasing or decreasing the number of bugs. For anti-regressive changes in Rails, it seems to decrease the number of bugs in the first 2 weeks, but increase the number of bugs in the third and fourth weeks afterwards. Bootstrap's cross-correlation graph is very clear that progressive changes result in more bugs in the following 28 days, but anti-regressive changes seem to slightly decrease the number of bugs in the first couple of weeks. In the following weeks after that, there is a slight increase in the number of bugs. Looking at progressive changes or features in Node, they almost always result in an increase of bugs in the following 4 weeks, and anti-regressive changes often result in an increase of bugs, although there were a few lags that did result in a decrease in the number of bugs, mainly in the first week and a half. So what does this all mean? Overall, it seems that progressive changes increase the number of bugs in the 28 to 30 days after that change, whereas anti-regressive changes, they weren't quite as clear, but it does seem like it decreases the number of bugs in the first 2 weeks following the refactor, and then increases the number of bugs in the third and fourth following weeks. One possible reason for this increase could be that refactoring can decrease the familiarity with the codebase, causing developers to make mistakes because of that. So some threats to validity. The 3 big things that we found were, because we were only looking at 3 repositories, we don't have enough data to have a lot of confidence in our results. Our anti-regressive data had a bunch of areas where there would be nothing, and then a big spike in data because we were counting the number of lines moved using transit. And finally, increasing it to a daily basis for our looking at our data might have been a bit too granular. Maybe we should look at something maybe on a weekly basis to make it a bit less messy. For future work, we want to try and resolve those threats and see if we can automate more of our project. Thank you for watching our video, and if you have any questions, feel free to post them below.
Thank you.